Welcome to Desk Geek. So I promised you to do a part 2 of my Android adventure here. And here it is. We're going to talk about the operating system. Now, I came from the iPhone 6 Plus. My wife has the iPhone 6. I've been in the iOS world for over 2 years now. Prior to that, I was a big Android fanboy, but after having so many issues with variations of overlays and different phones and bloatware and everything else, I went to iOS. Felt like I found the promised land and have been there for a while. But recently, with Apple's flubs, their new iPhone 7 that has no headphone jack, and sorry, I don't want little wireless ear pods hanging out of my ears when I have $300-400 headphones that actually sound amazing and give me full fulfillment from my music. Do I want to go back to having some earbud quality, headphones sitting in my ears? Nor do I want to go out and invest in dongles and those type of things to hang from my phone in order to get those things to work, those basic functions. So then I went through the Linux challenge, and really the iOS compatibility with Linux is there, but it's a little more troublesome. And I thought, well, let's give Android a try. It's time to go back and see what Android's been up to. And so we talked about the hardware, went through the HTC 10. You can click the link below if you want to watch that video first, but it gives a full review of the hardware and what HTC's done. So now we're going to take a look at Marshmallow, which is the operating system that currently ships with most Android devices. There are a couple like the Pixel and things that are already on Android in. HTC 10 is slated to get Android in, and when it does come out, I'll do a new video looking at some of the features that it adds. But for right now, we're going to talk about Marshmallow. And so the first thing I'll say is, if you're an Android fanboy, you're probably going to get your feelings hurt on this video, because there are a lot of things I'm going to talk about that I do not like. In fact, I'm going to start with the things that I primarily don't like, but there are a lot of good things that I like about Android, and I'll get into those in a later discussion or throughout the discussion. So this isn't to just blast on Android, but hopefully maybe someone from Google's watching and they can take some notes and add some basic changes that they could make that would really improve Android tremendously when compared to iOS. So one of the first experiences with Android is, you get that back button back, which is pretty exciting, and I like having that back button back. You certainly have a lot more control over your device. And one of the first things you're going to do is go in and start installing some apps. And there's a reason why I have this app here. I just randomly chose this app before I started the video. I looked for an app, clicked on it, and I was kind of laughing at it because transparent screen, like, what are they doing here? And when you read the notes, you realize they're just literally turning on your camera full time and it's seeing whatever's behind your camera. What a really stupid idea. But in any case, when you go into the Google Play Store, one of the first things that struck me is how many things are free. And to most people, that's exciting. But to me, that's like, that's not good. Because the free that they have here contains ads everywhere. So it's not like open source free. It's more like free as in, we're giving it to you free, but we're really charging you because we're going to take all the data we can collect off you and sell it to somebody else. And then we're going to track everything that you do with this data, pull it all together in some big giant database, and constantly send ads to you. And that's the main thing I hate about Android, is it is very driven to deliver Google's ad product all over the place. From notifications that I get at the top of my screen that would randomly come up like, hey, do you want to buy potato chips? I'm like, no, I really want to make a phone call that you're interrupting me with because you're trying to drive some ads. So then I eventually figured out if you hold down on that notification, that it will come up and tell you this is where this notification's coming from, and I could go on and install that application so I didn't have ads showing up in my notifications where I'm worried about, did somebody text me from work? Did I get an email from work? Did I miss a phone call? I don't need to see potato chip ads on my phone, right? I'm paying $600 for this device. I don't need that. So there's a lot of annoying things that happens when you have this open playing field that Google's created with very little controls, and that's where they need to focus on heavily, is really controlling what's released out there. But if we just take a look at this app that I pulled up, Smart Droid Tech, and I click install, it contains ads. It's great that things are free. There's some free stuff on Apple as well. For the most part, you actually pay for most of the stuff on Apple, which I prefer because I don't have to deal with the ads or the fact of them asking for unnecessary permissions which is one of my major issues with Android. Just looking at this app. So what does this app do? Well, apparently it turns on your camera, and through the camera, it shows you whatever you're seeing on your camera as your background for your phone. That's what I can gather. I'm not going to install a piece of crap. But anyways, it says that it needs access to my photos and media files. That can kind of make sense, right? Maybe because it's streaming video that it needs to run in the background. Maybe it needs to save something. I don't know why it needs the files, but I can kind of see that. Then your camera, my Wi-Fi connection information, which I'm not quite sure why it needs that, unless it's taking data that it's gathering and sending it off to itself. Allows the app to view information such as my Wi-Fi networking, whether Wi-Fi is enabled, and names of connected Wi-Fi devices. It's pretty invasive. And then device ID and call information. Allows the app to determine the phone number and device IDs, whether a call is active, and the remote number connected by call. Now, why would you need that for this type of app? And this is what I see constantly. There were so many moments when I was installing the basic apps that I had on iOS, the same apps that were on iOS, where the permissions that were being asked for here just didn't add up. There was too much being asked for that seemed more invasive and attempting to grab more information than to make the app actually useful. But here's where it really gets fuzzy for me. On iOS, I can go and I can install this app still, know what its permissions are, and then when it gets into the app, like Android's added in Marshmallow, it will say, hey, this app wants to access your camera, this app wants to access this, and I could click yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. On iOS, I can still use the app, even if I said no to all the permissions. It may just be a blank screen with a menu, but that app will still work, and I can get the basic gist of it. I can turn on different features, turn off, or add them in. With Android, a lot of these apps, if you say no to any of the permission items, it just closes the app down. You can't use it at all. So it gives full control to the content creators and no control to the users at all. And to me, that's a major, major problem in Android. The next thing that I really like about Android is that they're giving me all this free space to back up my phone. All my photos, my contacts, everything's there. So if I lose my phone, I get another phone. I can sync it up with my Google account, restore all that information either through HTC's duplicative process or backup and restore software, or through Google, and get that information, really critical information, back on my phone. So that's a very cool option. And I love that they give me all that free space, but I fear about the encryption that they're using and the safety of that information. Who has access to it? I know their employees can gain access to it according to the terms and conditions, which then makes you wonder, because they're saying, well, what if there's child pornography and that type of stuff, which of course nobody's for. But if employees can go through that, then maybe hackers can get to it, and all your private information is sitting up there in the cloud, because a lot of these apps default that they're going to back everything up into the cloud, and naturally they're set to private. But again, somebody accesses your account, they have pretty much everything on you. So there's a lot of danger with the way things are set up. And EFF has actually, as I mentioned in one of my videos comparing the security of iOS to Android that I did prior to switching to Android, Android has lost stars in ratings with EFF over the years, and they used to be at the same as iOS, and they've actually gone down because of a lot of privacy concerns. So it's not just me being paranoid with a tinfoil hat. There's a lot of folks looking at Android wondering if it really is a secure system, and actually playing with it and seeing it, it certainly brings those questions up to me as well. Outside of that, the other issue I have with Android is the lack of integration. So when I first got my phone, I had HTC Messenger, then I had Google Messenger, and then I use Google phone, so that had a messenger and your Wi-Fi phone, or it's called Google Hangouts now, in it. And the messenger felt like, compared to iOS, I went back in time, like I'm back in the 90s or something. It was old, it was antiquated, picture quality was terrible, using very old technology, and I was very disappointed with it. And then I remember, didn't Google come out with another messenger app, and it was Allo? And I downloaded it, and Allo's amazing. Allo is every bit as good as iOS Messenger. You've got these amazing stickers and things that can be a lot of fun if you're into that. But for the most part, when you send videos, even my wife sends a video. This is a trick tip and trick here. If your wife sends you a phone, if your wife or friend or whoever has an Apple iPhone and they send you a picture or a video, it will come in at terrible quality. If you have them download Allo and text that to you, it will be perfect, just like you were on another iPhone. So just a tip and things I had to find out because my wife's still on the iPhone platform. Couldn't send me any videos or pictures. They all looked horrendous when they came through. And Allo, when she downloaded that on her phone, she's able to text and send videos and pictures, and they come across perfectly. So Allo seems very, very cool, but it's not encrypted. Your traffic is not private. It's not like WhatsApp. So you basically have no encryption, and if you're sending anything private or you don't want other people to know, too bad. So that's just another kind of failure in the security world with Android. So some of the things that I like, let's get into some of the things that I like. I do like the flexibility, the customization, the menu systems are all very intuitive. I can configure apps in here and, remove permissions, but of course, a lot of times those apps won't work and it will tell you that if you do that. I could do battery optimization within the apps to talk about load times and those type of things. So there's a lot that you can do. The operating system's very snappy. It's fast. The touch technology and everything is extremely intuitive. There's a lot of customization in apps that are not in iOS that I have access to here. So it gives me a lot more control to play WebM files in different formats and things like that. Of course, I love the HTC hardware and the amp built in that allows me to listen to my music. The new Nine Inch Nails album came out, which was incredible. Only had 5 songs, but I was able to not have to tether another amp to my phone. I could just go through the phone directly because the amp's so good within the phone, listen to that new sound or new CD and enjoy it thoroughly. So I thought that was pretty cool that I wouldn't be able to necessarily experience on the iOS without having a separate VO amp or something connected to get that quality out of there. So there are a lot of good things here too, but it does feel like a lot of my information is just constantly up for grabs. That the whole platform is designed to get as much information about me as possible for advertising instead of delivering a quality product that I can use as part of my day to get things done faster and quicker. I find almost no useful application for the Google Talk option. I think, this thing here. Say, okay, Google. And then now I've got to go search by voice on any screen. Okay, get started. So maybe let's try this out. This is new to me. I always thought you had to push the button on that screen, but maybe I can do it from anywhere. Let's see, what do we want to say? Okay, Google, find the nearest restaurant.
Here are some listings for the nearest restaurant within 6 miles.
I stand corrected happily. That's pretty cool right there. So now they've done like an Alexa-like integration here. I can see because I was just about to go and talk about Alexa. See, I'm okay being wrong sometimes. I was about to talk about Alexa and how useful I actually found Alexa, which I'll get into in one of the TV reviews because it was so easy to use. But because they've integrated that now where I can just say that term, okay, Google, and it's going to pull my phone up and listen. That's amazing. Look at that. And it just does a search for everything that I said. Wow. That's actually very, very useful. That's incredible. So very cool there. I'm very impressed. And I know Google has their new Google Home product, so that must be an integration from there. So it's not that I dislike Android. There's a lot of good things here, and there's still a lot I have to learn after 2 weeks. For the most part, there are some very good things for productivity. This allows me to, especially with the hardware, which I give most of it to HTC, to do a lot of video content, do a lot of editing. Obviously, it integrates with my DJI Phantom drones and all of my audio equipment and things very easily, very well, just like iOS does. There's a much better integration with Linux. At the end of the day, though, the constant need to feed ads and install bloatware and all those things and the permission system all need to be worked on. And making sure that developers have real standards that are set, that Google is setting to say, you can't just release this crapware on our Google store and potentially infect or impact our customers. You've got to have some quality there, which iOS, I think, does a much better job of enforcing, would be a welcome change to Android. Overall, though Siri was almost nearly worthless at the end. Actually, the original implementation of Siri back in the day was better on iPhone 3s and 4s than it is now on the iPhone 6, which it was completely worthless and I never used it. But I think I'm going to like this Google implementation now that I set that up. Before I was just clicking on that and I would click on the microphone and have to speak. And to me, that's just as much work as just simply doing it. So it was pretty worthless, but I like what they've done here. So overall, Android OS, it needs some work. The like I said, the OS is smooth and responsive. The Google locator for finding your phone is very good. It is pinpoint accurate, so I feel there's some security there. If they could just get their app store under control, if they could get the ads limited to the permissions that you grant access to, and not allowing bloatware to just overtake your phone and throw ads and things in your notifications. For kids, that's fine, but as an adult who works, I can't have my day interrupted by potato chip ads and crap. I need to be able to just use my phone for what I need to use it for. They need to integrate all these different products they have into one solution. Instead of having 6 different messenger apps, I just want one. That would be fantastic, just to have one. iOS has gone, Apple for the most part has just gone kind of nuts with their latest implementations, and there's nothing really good there left aside from the security, and some of the software implementations that they've had from the past are still there and they're good, their permission systems, etc. But their hardware and things, I don't know where they're going. The whole dongle fiasco is just, it's ridiculous. The less is more concept is really stupid. I feel like you're just losing so much. The cost for everything, all the space and everything, photos, the storage, for the most part, unless you're using a ton of it, I think you get up to like almost 100 gigabytes or something for free. Amazon, you can load almost all your stuff for free on. Of course, you're going to lose some of that privacy there, but I don't have to pay for that. On Apple, I have to use their service, and their prices for storage and everything are just ridiculous. So there's a lot of freedom that you get with Android, but at the end of the day, there is obviously a need for a real Linux player here. I don't consider Android to be a real Linux solution. It's a lot of things that Linux is not. Everything's about metadata grabbing, privacy invasion. You're really back to a Windows-like solution here. You're not gaining anything really that great, neither with iOS nor with Android. To me, now that I've played with both, iOS for a while and Android, and it'll be interesting seeing what N comes up with, which I think is going to be the first true enforced encryption based device where they have to encrypt everything, because before they kept telling us they're going to encrypt Android but then allow the manufacturers to do whatever they want. But N supposedly is the first one they're going to enforce that on. We'll see. But Ubuntu or another Linux distribution really needs to get into the phone market. It would be nice to have a real Linux solution here as an option that we could use to show off the real power of open source community and making sure the phone's secure, patched, etc., that it's private, encrypted, and something that's very useful. I'm very excited actually in playing with Android and iOS to see how many defects there still are in these operating systems and how they really fail to fully integrate either one, a real complete solution compared to where I think they should be. And I think that leaves the market prime for someone else to come in like Ubuntu or another distribution that's Linux based and create an operating system that's truly everything we need, from private to true open source software solutions to being able to truly be productive, as productive on your phone as you can on your computer. The most secure platform in the coming years is the one that's going to win, because as more people start to wake up and realize it's not about whether you're not doing something wrong or whatever of why you want the security. It's because these people are starting to learn more about you than your own wife or spouse or whomever would know about you, or your best friend, your deepest, darkest secrets, whether you're sick or not or anything else. And this could all be sold to medical companies. Who knows what could happen with it? But having all this data out there that you're giving unknowingly, not knowing how anybody's storing it, these apps are taking your call information. For all we know, they're sticking it on some insecure platform that any hacker can get, and they can connect enough dots to be able to get your passwords and steal stuff from you. Do you see where I'm going going here, this could go anywhere. It's important to keep your information secure. I don't think Android's doing a good job on it. iOS does a better job at it, but there's still some loopholes there. Hopefully Linux will come in with an OS and completely dominate the field, because a true secure operating system for a phone is very much needed at this point. That's my review. I know there's just a lot of all over the place with it, but that's just how I feel on this operating system. Leave your comments below. Let me know what you think. Do you love iOS more than Android? Do you love Android more than iOS? Let me know why, what your feelings are, what your favorite apps are, what I need to download, what I need to check out. Leave a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button. Until next time, get out there and fill your brains.
Don't get subscribed. Does not like the video.